What's up guys, Duarte here with another Marvel Strike Force video, and today we are going to take a look at all or most of all Blitz teams that are possible to use right now, and the best positions for them. Now this is the teams with the most synergy. They are not exactly the best teams for Blitz, it's the teams with the most synergy and the position for the characters on that situation. In a few months, like in 2 or 3 months, when the meta changes and we have to redo this list, we'll take a look at all these teams once again with the changes that we have to do to them. And before we start the video, I want to say thanks for everyone who liked my last video where we talk about Squirrel Girl and the things that are going to change with the meta, the X-Force coming and so on, and my other video where I was opening a ton of orbs to see how many chimichangas we would get, and yeah, that event is really hard, and we'll be talking about the Blitz situation in a future video. And yeah, before we start the video, I want 40% of my viewers are subscribed, so 60% are not subscribed. So if you like to watch my videos, consider subscribing. If you watch for most of the time while you're not subscribing, it helps out the channel a lot, and it also makes me to stay motivated to do more videos and so on. So yeah, let's try to reduce those 60% of the viewers not subscribed. I'm going to start doing most of the reviews of the characters, talk about the news and other problems with the game, and not only strategies for the war and the arena and so on. Okay, so yeah, I hope you guys consider subscribing, and let's get started with the main topic of this video. So we have 26 Blitz. You can do 27, and I'm going to explain sort of why they work the way they work. So first we have Hydra. So you have the guard on the corner, because most of the times you want tanks to be on the corner, most of the times. And then you have the trooper, and you want all the splash damage to go to the trooper, because you want trooper to die as many times as possible, because every time he dies and spawns, he does AoE damage to all the enemies. And the reason why you want Red Skull in this position is that if you are using, for example, the Symbiotes against Red Skull, you will not be able to target the sniper, and if you target the medic, this guy here, you will not be able to spread the debuffs to the sides. So you have like the middle part is blocking the chain of attacks. So you'll be forced to attack most of the times the guard and the trooper, or this guy alone. But if you attack this guy alone, it will take too much time and so on. So that's why this is the best positioning for Hydra, especially against the symbiotes. Okay, so moving on to the next team, you have Hand, and like Hand is very underrated, and you can use Nobu and Hand Sentry with Ultron, and that will allow Ultron to get 6 energy right away when he does his ultimate, and that guarantees that you have a second rotation of minions on the 3rd turn. Many people don't know some of those combos that you can do with this team, but for the Hand specifically, you want Electra here because she goes on stealth, and then because she's on stealth, she'll protect the Hand Archer and these other two, and those are the ones you want to keep alive as long as possible. Of course, and Sentry, he will die eventually, but yeah, this is just a fodder team that we use on Blitz. Then we have the Cree Essence, and before I had different position, I had Ronan in the middle, but I have noticed that having Ronan next to the Kree Royal Guard is way better, and Oracle doesn't do much, but if he's in the middle, he has time to do something. So yeah, and you always want Reaper next to Noble, so when Noble does her special, she will always call for Reaper, and that will allow Reaper to do more crits, more attacks, and that will gain more energy, more bleeds, and so on. So yeah, that's the most useful situation. But if you need more this spell, you want to change Ronan with the Kree Reaper. So when Noble does the special, Ronan does his basic that allows you to clear more buffs. Then we have the Ravagers. Now this team obviously is trash because most of these characters need a rework. Boomer, the Stitcher, and this other, I don't remember the name. But by itself, these characters, for example, I have 6 red star Yondu, and with Gamora, which is at 5 red stars, those 2 characters alone, most of the times they will be able to win the Blitz match if you are attacking like trash teams. And they win on maybe 8.0, but beyond that is just too hard for them. But as soon as you can do Yondu with the summons, if he has a decent amount of red stars, those summons will actually be quite strong and do a decent amount of damage. So yeah, even that those 3 by themselves are not great, when they come as summons, they are actually better than these ones. And Gamora, she doesn't have a house, at least for me, so it was a way I could use her and be a little bit useful. Okay, so you have the first shield team. We have shield security. He is the tank, he wants to be in the corner. Then the character that is usually most attacked is Nick Fury. So the fact that you have Trooper in the middle, it will do that backfire that he does, the retaliation whenever the adjacent targets are attacked. And then we have Operative, and we have the Assault, giving critical, giving buffs, giving turn rewind. You have to remember that Operative on her basic steals buffs from the other guys, so you always you want to use her with the Nick Fury for Blitz. For other situations, not so much. But yeah, now we have the Avengers with the Coulson. This is a very basic team. You want Hulk and Captain America here. So wherever there is a taunt, they do splash damage to each other and so on. Nothing special. But you want Medic to be as far away as possible from them so she doesn't die. And the Coulson may be here in the middle, or maybe where Black Widow is, to make sure he doesn't die as well, because he's the biggest source of damage. The other ones are too slow, and even with Black Widow, Hulk is extremely slow, and yeah, you need him under 50% HP so he does anything useful. Okay, then we have the Feltron. Many people don't realize that this team is actually very good, and the reason why is all of them are tech villains. We have Merc Sniper, we have Hydra Grenadier, we have Nebula, and we have Crossbones. While these characters by themselves are not good, if they are together with Ultron, all of them will benefit from all the effects Ultron gives, which is all those buffs and extending buffs, because they are tech villains. Crossbones, he explodes, he's a tank, and then Nebula is right after him because she has dodges, she has counters, so if there is a chain attack, it will be stopped because of all those counters and so on. And she gets counters, he also gets counters, she gets dodges. If Ultron kills someone on those situations, their buffs will be extended. Now, Grenadier, Hydra Grenadier is very, very slow, but if he's together with Ultron, he will get speed up, and that will allow him to attack many times, and whenever he attacks, he dispels buffs from the enemy team. That's very good. And the Merc Sniper, with offense up, speed up, and so on, it will allow him to give massive damage, because that's all he does, massive damage. And right now, because he's a tech, he doesn't fit so well on the Merc team, because you want mostly skill characters there, so Taskmaster does as much damage as possible. So yeah, even that this team is composed by Ultron and other 4 failed characters, this team actually works very well because they have so much synergy based on their tags. Then we have power armor. Now the reason why you want rescue in one corner and Iron Fart in another corner, it's because they are the keys for this team. If one of them dies, the team pretty much doesn't go anywhere. So you want them to be as far away from each other as possible and as far away of the middle as possible, So in case one of the other targets are attacked, they don't take too much splash damage, and that allows them to survive long enough to do the combo. Now, Falcon in the middle, because even that he will be like that, most likely going to be attacked or suffer from splash damage, because he has a nice amount of block that will protect him from many of those attacks. And even if he gets like ability block or something like that, there is a chance he will survive based on that block chance. So that's why you want the two girls as far away as possible, and then have the boy with the sunglasses in the middle. Okay, so we have Mercenaries. Now, this is not the most optimal team with the Mercenaries, but like I said, this list is based on the teams with the most synergy. And so you can see we are using Merc Soldier. Merc Soldier is okay. Unfortunately, he didn't get any rework like Merc Sniper. Those two, unfortunately, were left out. But this team works very well on Blitz, and like that you have the most synergy with other teams. So we have the Riot Guard. Now, he's not in the corner because we want him to give deflects to the characters that are next to him, which will be Merc Soldier and Merc Lieutenant. And every time one adjacent target of Merc Lieutenant is attacked, he will heal up the Mercs, or the Merc with the most damage. So that means Merc Riot Guard will have the taunt, so that will trigger that passive. And then if the enemies focus on Taskmaster, that's fine because he also has a block chance, and that will also trigger the passive from Merc Lieutenant, because those two characters, or those three in the middle, are the most essential characters. Then you just have Bullseye to do whatever, and Merc Soldier, even that he's not great, he has okay stats, so he'll still do some damage, and because he's skill, not like the Merc Sniper, he'll still buff the damage of Taskmaster. Okay, so then we have the Wakanda. The Wakanda is the basic team. You have Tank in the corner, then you have Killmonger, because he can heal himself because he has the drain ability and he does counters, so every time he does damage, heals up. Then we have Shuri. There is no other character that has like counter or dodge or something like that, so you just keep Shuri in the middle. And then those two, they are like the weakest, so if we have a attack that has like chain effects, it will go through those two before they will reach the weakest characters on this team. Black Panther is sort of the best damage dealer on the team, and then we have Okoye that does the dispels. So they have the damage and the utility, so we want them to last as long as possible. Okay, now we have the Inhumans, and Black Bolt is in the middle because he's the beefiest character of them all, and because Crystal and the Quake, they are the second most essential characters that have the least amount of survivability. We want Crystal to last as long as possible and to take as least amount of splash damage as possible. So she's in one corner, she's the healer, she's a big damage dealer, and she's also sort of a mini controller. So she has so much utility, we want her to last as long as possible. Quake, she's not a healer, but she's a very good controller. She gives slow for 2 turns, and she does offense down and does minor dispel on one target with her special. So we also want her to survive as long as possible, because we need those slows in case Black Bolt gets any debuffs to flip them into buffs. Now, Karnak is completely useless. He's one of the worst characters in game. People that say Karnak is good, like, just stop making content because you have no idea what you're talking about. He's completely useless. He has no benefits for the team. He barely does any control, and that major ability that he has of dispelling one big tank is useless for most of the time. And then Yo-Yo can be in the middle because she has the dodge chance and she lowers the attack and so on. So for those reasons, she has most survivability. So she can be next to Black Bolt and take some splash damage without affecting too much her health. Okay, so now we have the Kree Technocrats, and this team is surprisingly good, and I'm not sure if many people are using this team, but this team wins very, very easily at 8.3 on Blitz. even without the 5 red stars on Ultimus. I just can't wait for the 5 red stars. It will drastically change this team. It will make this team so good. But yeah, right now this team is very good. But it's going to get so much better. So yeah, we want Minerva and Vision as far away as possible from the middle. The middle is where we have the tanks, the tank, which is Ultimus, and the least essential characters. Even that Kree Cyborg and Korath are important characters, they are not essential, and even if they die, Minerva can bring them back to life. Vision, he has the dodge, he has the ability block, he has the dispel, so even that he has some survivability, we want him to last as long as possible. So in this case we keep him in the corner instead of being in the middle, because yeah, the utility is too much and we don't want him to get exposed to any type of damage. It's just better to keep those two alive and as far away as possible for all those reasons. Okay, so now we have the Fantastic Four. I don't know exactly how many people use the Fantastic Four, and there is one huge mistake with Sue Storm or Invisible Woman. Many people think the T4 on the defense up is essential, the one that she hides the team, but that T4 is not essential at all, and that T4 actually might hurt your team. If you are using her on raids, you have Ultron. This is in a situation you have Ultron, or you have Mr. Sinister, or you have Hela. So a situation where you have more than 5 characters. If you use that T4, it will hide every character except the one with most HP. But if you don't have the T4, she will hide the 3 characters that are most injured. And if you have Ultron, for example, you have all the bots, they are going to be exposed, and that's exactly what you want. You want to keep the focus on the bots and not on the main characters. So that's why sometimes the T4 on her is a mistake. Now, the reason why they are like this, it's also based on that T4 choice. We have the 2 beefiest characters plus Namor together. So if there is some splash damage and so on, the damage will stay as far away as possible from Mr. Elastic and Mr. Fire. So yeah, all the splash damage, all the beefier characters and so on are going to be on the same side of the field, and that's what you want, because we want them to get attacked as often as possible, so they do the retaliation attacks that it's one of the best sources of damage from the team. And yeah, that's why they are together on this side, and that's why these glass cannons or utility masters are on the other side. And Namor is beefy enough, and he's just fine there in the middle. Okay, now the Supernatural, we have the 2 characters that give survivability to the team as far away from each other as possible. So it's Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch. She balances the health of everyone, and he revives. The ones in the middle, like both of them have self-healing, Mordo and Ghost Rider, and Elsa, while she is an okay character, she only does damage, and yeah, for those reasons she can die, and that's why she's in the middle. If she dies, it's fine. If Mordo dies, it's fine. They will be revived after, as long as Doctor Strange and Ghost Rider and Scarlet Witch are alive, we are just fine. So those 2 are in the middle for all those reasons, so they can just die. So yeah, for me, this is best position for them. Now we have the Sinister Six, and of course this is the Sinister Six version with the most synergy. Now the reason why we don't have Rhino as a tank in the corner is because whenever he does the taunt, he dispels debuffs from the 2 adjacent targets. Vulture, he can stay in the middle because he has a very high chance of getting Deflect. Deflect is a guaranteed block, so that's why he's in the middle. The other 2 are the characters that don't have too much utility, but Shocker, he gives buffs, and this one dispels, so we want them to survive as long as possible. Vulture, once again, with the most survivability, Rhino dispelling, and then Green Goblin is beefy enough to stay next to the tank, We want him to last as long as possible in the match because of his also dispel ability. He's just beefy enough to take any splash damage. Okay, now Black Order, and this is for our favorite content creator from Texas because he doesn't know how to use his team. And like I said in my other video, you want Call Obsidian to be next to or Ebony Maw or Thanos because we want one of them to get splash damage, so after Call Obsidian can do the retaliation from his passive. And then we want Proxima in the middle because she's the weakest character. She's the most glass cannon of the team. And then Corvus Glaive, he can stay next to Ebony Maw because he's in stealth, and you'll not be able, if you attack Ebony Maw, you'll not be able to chain to Proxima or to the middle. So yeah, all the attacks will be mostly focused here, and that's exactly what we want because that will guarantee the most damage from the Black Order. Now AIM. Now this is my favorite version of AIM. Some people like to use Monstrosity. I don't like to use Monstrosity. I think it's a very dumb character. If you level up the AIM Researcher, she will also give buffs to the team. So it's just a matter of, if you are early into the game, AIM Monstrosity is better. But if you are into late game, AIM Researcher is better. And the perfect team the perfect position for this team with this setup is Graviton. Then we have Assault. He will give speed up and turn meter to the characters next to him, to Scientist Supreme and to Graviton. So we'll have more debuffs, we'll have more regeneration, more chances of reviving. And then Researcher, she's a secondary healer, but she also gives buffs. She also applies offense down and so on. So she's great. And they are next to Security because Security heals the adjacent targets next to him, to her. And that's what we want. We want our healers to survive as long as possible. So then Assault and Graviton can go as often as possible and do all their magic, speed ups, damage, bleeds, stuns, disrupts, and so on. So yeah, with this setup, this is the perfect team. If using Monstrosity, then the setup is completely different. But I can answer in the comments if you guys want to know the other positioning. Now for the X-Men. X-Men, you want Phoenix in one corner, and this is once again for our favorite content creator from Texas. You want Phoenix as far away from Cyclops and Storm as possible because she's going to taunt all the time. She's going to get all the splash damage, and we don't want those glass cannon characters to take any damage at all. That's just terrible. We want them to survive as long as possible, so you have the most assists, the most speed up, the most charges on Cyclops, the most of defense downs. So yeah, there is no reason why Phoenix would be anywhere near those characters. And then you want Colossus next to her because he's the secondary taunt. If he gets taunt, which he will because he has the critical taunt ability from his passive. So you want him to be next to Phoenix. So if he is attacked and there is splash damage, the splash damage goes to Phoenix. And Psylocke is next to him because, well, we have no other option. We could use Wolverine here, maybe. But I like to use Psylocke because she transfers all negative debuffs from the team. And you only want to use this when Phoenix goes into Dark Phoenix mode to remove any slows or anything like that, because slow is something that is really, really bad against this team. And she also gives dodges to everyone, and if you can get Colossus down and give him the dodge, then you can extend with his special, and that's a very good combo when you can extend all those dodges. He will tank so much better thanks to them. So yeah, this is the best position for the X-Men. Now we have the Guardians. Now on the Guardians is debatable, but this is my preferred positioning. So we have Drax and we have Groot. Drax, he starts with a taunt and then he has a very fast taunt right after. So if there is any splash damage, they will attack the Groot and that will give slow to the enemies. That's what we want. Now Mantis is here because Groot is a secondary it's like a off tank, so she will heal him up as often as possible. That will guarantee more slows and so on. And yes, many times we want Groot to die, but not most of the times. Then we have Star-Lord giving energy to Rocket and to Mantis. So it's not the most efficient way to give energy to Rocket, obviously, but the fact that we are healing so much more thanks to the energy to Mantis, and the ultimate from Mantis passes ability block, so that's great. It will make them last way longer. And specifically for raiding, for like the gamma raids, this positioning is very good for the nodes where you can use the Guardians. Okay, so the Brotherhood. Now the Brotherhood, it's many people prefer to use Toad here, but that's really, really bad. And other of our favorite content creators, the Mobile Boomer, he was saying that it was very bad that with the 5 red stars that they gave last year, that Magneto was too strong and he was getting focused by the by certain teams like Asgardians or the Mercs or Coulson or something like that. And then I told him about this team that if you use Magneto in the middle next to Blob, he will get deflects. And because he has such a high armor, and because he's a legendary, so he has higher stats than other characters, plus all those deflects, even if he's targeted by Coulson and so on, he will survive 100% of the times because of that. So yeah, we have the two tanks next to each other, that's what we want. Then we want Magneto in the middle because he's getting those deflects from the Blob. And then we want to have Pyro as far away from the tanks as possible because he's really weak. And even that he gets speed up whenever he's attacked, he's just too squishy to take advantage of that ability. And the Toad here is just whatever, because even if you get a chain, Toad will be on the 4th position and he has a dodge chance. So even if Magneto is targeted, he still has a dodge chance, giving him some survivability. The stacking up deflects with dodge is just not smart enough. It's better to have a target that has really high armor plus the deflects. So yeah, that's the best positioning for the Brotherhood 2.0, I guess. Now we have the Hero Brawlers. We have Miss Marvel in a corner. Then we have Miles, that Hero Brawlers, no, the new Avengers. So Miss Marvel in one corner, then we have Miles because he is stealth most of the time. So that will make sure that there will be no counters going forward. Then we'll have Captain Marvel. Then we'll have Squirrel Girl. And then we can have here American Chavez. That will guarantee that our healer will be always fine. There will be no chain attacks and stuff like that. And even if there is, the Captain Marvel, she has self-healing and so on, so that will make sure the characters that have most utility will stay fine, and yeah, that the tank does her job, and Miles prevents the characters from being attacked. Okay, now the Asgardians. Now the Asgardians, the logic of this team is exactly because the Symbiotes can counter this team. This team is still very good against any other teams, but this positioning is perfect against the Symbiotes as a positioning counter. Because yes, positioning sometimes wins the games, and this is one of the situations why. So the reason is we have Sif in the corner, of course, because she has taunt and counters and so on, so that prevents Shane's attacks. Now Heimdall, he is not very useful. Is okay with his basic, and we want him for his passive, nothing else. You can even replace him with other characters, but yeah, so he is not very interesting. If he dies, if Sif is attacked and if he dies from splash damage or something like that, that's fine. He already did his job with his passive on spawn and with a basic attack, and that's how we need him for. Now Hela is in the middle because we want Hela to survive as long as possible. And it's one of those things. If the team attacks Sif or Hela, then Thor will build up charges. So you have to decide, am I going to focus Thor? Am I going to focus Hela? Am I going to focus Sif? If you don't focus Thor, Hela will destroy you. If you focus Hela, Thor will destroy you. If you focus Sylph, Hela and Thor will destroy you. So it's up to you which one you want to focus. As long as Heimdall dies, it's just fine. And then Loki. Loki is here in the middle between Hela and Thor. Because if you focus on Thor and you want to do splash damage or you want to spread debuffs, Loki has very, very high resistance. So if you try to spread debuffs from Thor to Loki, he will probably resist the debuffs, and that will make sure he doesn't die. And if you focus on Hela, if they try to spread the debuffs for Loki, that's fine because he has very high resistance. So yeah, that's the reason this team is the perfect position against the symbiotes, but symbiotes can still beat them. It's not, it just helps them to survive, but it's not 100% guaranteed. And this positioning, like I said, it works against other teams as well. Okay, so we have the symbiotes. The symbiotes, you want them as far away as possible because you want them to survive as long as possible. In Blitz and in Alliance Wars and so on. In raids, not really. In raids we can use different positioning, but this is for Blitz positionings and Alliance Wars. Now, Ant-Man and this guy, Hawkeye, they are surprisingly good in this team. He gives slow, he gives ability block, he steals some buffs, so that's something we can make sure it makes Ant-Man useful. And Hawkeye, in some situations, is very useful because he does turn rewind and he applies blind. Might doesn't work so well because he's very low. He's like at 15k power, and the other ones are at 100k. So of course, it's not going to work for me, for my experience. But if you have Hawkeye at like gear tier 9 or above that, and if you have a decent red stars with him, he will be very, very good on this team because the blinds and so on, and remove stealth. That's something the symbiotes can take advantage of. So yeah, that's a good combination of characters. Ability blocks, slow and so on, blinds, turn rewind, dispel and so on, that are things that the symbiotes take advantage of. So it's one alternate team that you can use and try it out. You're gonna see it's very enjoyable. Now we have X-Force, and I'm still debating on the positioning for this team, and the reason why is because we want Deadpool to die as often as possible, and there will be splash damage. Now the splash damage will be better on Negasonic, or will it be better on X-23? I think I'm gonna change this positioning, and I'm going to put Negasonic here, because she has, when you level her up, she has so much armor and she has so much barrier that the splash damage she will take will not be significant, and that will allow X-23 to survive as long as possible. Then I will change Cable to this positioning where is Domino, because we want Domino to survive as long as possible, and if she's in a corner, that will guarantee that she'll take less splash damage. So yeah, for those reasons, I think I'm going to change this team. So it will be Deadpool, Negasonic, X-23, Cable, and then Domino. I think that's going to be my final version of the OG X-Force team. Now we have the Defenders. Defenders, it's a whole team. Everyone should know the positioning of the Defenders. You have the tank, you have Daredevil, because he has the counters and because he has the dodge, so it's less likely that he will allow chains to go through him. Then we have Jessica Jones, because she has really high resistance, so even if she gets some splash damage and stuff like that, it will not be that big of a deal. And then we have Iron Fist. We want Iron Fist to survive as long as possible. So for that reason, we want him to take as less damage as possible, and that will guarantee that he doesn't. And then we have Punisher, that for now he's in this team. Let's see if the Thunderbolts will take him away from the Defenders and put him elsewhere. and we have a new defender. That will be very interesting. For now, he's here. So he's very squishy. He does most of the damage. So we want him to be as far away from the tank as possible, and that's why he's there in the corner, as far away from everyone as possible. Then we have the last team, which is the Marauders, and this is the Marauders we have now. Hopefully we'll get Emma Frost soon, and she will replace Wolverine. And this is not the best Marauders team. You can use Shuri, you can use Kingpin, you can use Wolverine. Wolverine is just fine, but you can use him, there is no place where to use Wolverine, so it's up to you who you want to use as a fourth. I'm just using him here because he's a mutant, and yeah. Now you want Strife here on the corner because he's a tank. Then we have Sabretooth. Now Sabretooth is he has self-healing, and he also has death-proof, so that makes sure that he has enough survivability to be in this positioning. Now something we could change is having like Kingpin or Wolverine in the middle to make sure Mystique doesn't take any splash damage at all. And the reason why is because Mystique, if you have the T4 on her passive, she will spawn always with dodge, and you can use that dodge to spread with Mr. Sinister after, and that will give dodge for the entire team. And Strife is usually not a good tank, but as soon as he has defense up and dodge from that transferring of buffs, then he gets very, very tanky and very, very powerful, because you'll have dodge, defense up, deflects not yet, but we need to find a way to give him deflects, and then you'll have his own barrier that hopefully Emma Frost will give him a boost on that barrier, because 10% is just so lame, it's completely useless. And Strife is the one character that he was released and instantly he needed a rework, because yeah, most of his abilities don't make sense. He gets energy way too early, he gets down to way too early. The fact that he steals buffs but he doesn't give the buffs to himself is just makes no sense. I understand why, because he would get too powerful, but right now he's just way too weak and he needs all that love. So yeah, for all those reasons, we would probably put Mystique here where Wolverine is, so she keeps her dodge as long as possible. And then Mr. Sinister, he does so many things, like you want him to survive as long as possible, and for that you need to keep him as far away from the tank. Then there are a few characters left, but you can use them just to as a burner team. You have a few aim characters. You have End Assassin and Blade Master, and you have Winter Soldier and Wasp. Wasp, she'll probably be useful in September, and we are still waiting for the announced rework on Night Nurse. And Kingpin, you can use him on Marauders and you can use him on other teams, but like I said in the beginning of the video, this is the team, this is the teams with the most synergy, and not exactly the best teams out there, but yeah, for the most synergy, for the most out of each specific character, for the most green marks, this is the best teams and the best positioning. So yeah guys, 40 minutes video, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do. Smash that like button like a boss, and come on guys, let's subscribe. 60% of my viewers are not subscribed. Let's try to lower that amount. Let's try to make 50-50 at least. If you like this video and you think it's going to be helpful for someone you know, make sure you share it with your friends, your Facebook groups, your Discord, and so on. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. See ya.